Done.
Only about 18 months now until November of 2022, and it's never too early to talk about elections. Our next guest met with former President Trump at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida last week to talk politics. He says the former president is focused on the 2022 midterms and has not yet made a decision about running again in 2024. And to see Senator Bill Hagerty joins us now. He's a member of the Foreign Relations Committee and former U.S. ambassador to Japan. Senator, good to talk to you. Because I'm sitting in front of the White House as a backdrop and not the Capitol building, let's skip ahead to 2024. Let us in a little bit behind the curtain here. What was your conversation with the former president about running again?
You know, the president is energized. He's very engaged. Again, he's very focused right now on the 2022 elections. We talked about 2024, but he really pivoted back quickly to 2022 and what we need to do to regain the Senate, to retake the House, and to position ourselves for a very strong 2024, whomever is heading the ticket for us.
So what's your sense about him in 2024? Does he want to give it another shot? There are some people who say he's probably toying with the idea, wants to keep it out there, but in the end likely won't end up running again.
I don't know where he's going to land on this job, but I can say I think he's taking it very seriously. Certainly I am, and I think most of the Republican leadership are taking it seriously. We want to make certain that we retake the White House. The policies that President Trump put in place did so much to put our economy in great footing. Art Laffer was just talking about this. But the blue-collar boom that President Trump put in place has been an enormously successful effort. And to see the Biden administration come in and routinely go through the process of undoing policies that have been successful, I think are going to underscore the fact that Republican leadership is necessary now more than ever. If you look at what's happening at our border, if you look at what's happening, with our position relative to China, Iran, everything that's happening right now is making us less competitive, weaker as a nation. We need to step up and stand strong. And I think President Trump's policies are coming fuller into focus for the average American, and they realize that he had us on a path, particularly after putting Operation Warp Speed in place. He's put us on a path to recover from this pandemic faster than any other major economy.
On the subject of China, if you look at the recent meeting between the U.S. and Chinese officials in Alaska, China's letting the U.S. know that it's now an equal playing field. They're on the same footing as the United States after giving deference to this nation for so long. In terms of 2022, if we're going to play the short game here, Senator, as opposed to the long game, how involved do you expect the president is going to get in choosing and backing candidates?
John, I think the president can be very involved and very unifying to our party to make certain that we're putting the absolute best candidates on the field and that we're energizing Republicans to get out and vote. That's where the president can make a huge difference because he did so much to build our party. Look, he got 74 million votes. That's more than any Republican candidate has ever attained. He's got the ability to energize our party and get our turnout where it needs to be to retake the Senate in 2022, and I hope the House as well.
Here's a short list of some of the congressional candidates in the House and Senate that he's backing so far. Marco Rubio of Florida, he announced that one last week. Tim Scott of South Carolina, Rand Paul, Jerry Moran, Ron Johnson, John Kennedy, Mike Crapo, Mo Brooks, John Boozman. He's also weighing in on some gubernatorial races, including backing his former press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas. But he's also backing some primary challengers as well. Did you get the sense, Senator, when you talked to him, that people who crossed him or didn't give him the support that he needed, he's going to try to take down in 2022?
We weren't focused on that, John. What we were focused on is how to win in 2022. And having the president engaged in that, I think, is absolutely critical. I'm the only person, I believe I'm the only administration official that served in the Trump administration that's in federal elective office right now. And we've stayed in close contact. He certainly very strongly favors the election integrity legislation that I put forward, legislation that would require an audit of what happened in 2020.
Correct.
Something that would certainly make certain that no more unconstitutional actions take place and that we would clean up the election process.
Which we talked about the last time you were on. I got a question for you here just to close this out. The president is really angry still at Mitch McConnell and Mike Pence. He let that be known in that speech at Mar-a-Lago on Saturday night. You decided not to challenge the Electoral College results and, in fact, certified Joe Biden to be president. How is it that he is angry at Mitch McConnell and Mike Pence, but not you?
Well, President Trump knows that I stepped up and tried to put a commission in place that would come back and take a very hard look at what happened in 2020. that would take a hard look at that election and really put it back to the states to fix the problem once and for all. But I never intended for the Congress to federalize the election process. That needs to be left to state legislatures, just as it's provided for in the Constitution. That's what my legislation does, and I think that's why President Trump likes it. It would force an audit, it would uncover those places where the Constitution was violated, and it would ensure that no federal funding goes to those states that violated the Constitution until that situation is repaired.
Well, clearly you're still in good stead with him. Yeah. Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it.
Great to be with you. Thanks.